Hello and welcome to a new tutorial. Today I'm going to explain you how I created everything in this design, and I'm hoping that with this tutorial you'll learn how to create all those things by yourself. So in my case, in this design, I have started with those rocks, and the original photo is something like that. So I added a mask and I cut all the rocks, and then here I thought that there are too many rocks and I added another mask, and this is the result. So in our case, if we want to select a part of those rocks, I'm taking the pen tool, so I'm pressing the letter P, and then I'm just clicking and dragging with the mouse on the screen, and I'm selecting the part that I want. Now it's not really accurate because it's just to demonstrate you how I'm using the pen tool and how I did this selection. So this is what I did. Then I'm pressing Ctrl and Enter, and on the screen you see it's a selection, and then I'm just pressing this little icon, and this is it. We managed to have a selection. All right, let's delete this one and let's move on. Then I wanted to have rocks left and right, and I added this one to the right, which let me show you. It's a picture with this big island or rock, and yeah, I added the mask, and I just place it to the right, and on the left side the same, it's this big rock, and I added the same mask, and we have those things until now. Of course their colors are different, and then the next thing that I did, I wanted to have almost the same colors as the bottom one, like this one. So to each one I added a selective color, and here I played with the blacks and neutrals, and I think with the reds in this case. So it's just a matter of taking your time and play around with the settings, and usually I change the colors or adapt the colors using selective color. And of course in my case I used color instead of normal. Here I use the color, and the same thing I did with the one on the right. Here I played a bit with neutrals and of course with the reds, and I have modified them to have the same, almost the same color as the one in the front. Alright, so after we did this, I added some shadows between the main rocks and the one from behind by using a normal layer set to multiply. So this is really easy. You create a new layer, take the brush tool, press the letter B, and select a normal soft brush, and by using the Alt, hold Alt and just click on a dark color on your bottom rocks, let's say this gray one, and I'm starting to paint. And after you finish, let's paint here also a bit. After you finish, you set the blending mode to multiply, and if you think it's too intense, you can decrease the opacity and have a much better shadow. Then in the back I added this picture of a dramatic sunset, and on top of it I added a small part on the right side from another sky. Of course, by using the same thing with a mask, I added a mask and kept only the right side of the picture. So this is what we have until now, and then by using layer set to color dodge, I open more the colors on the bottom part because I want to have brighter color on the bottom side of our rocks. So let's see how I did this. Just create a new layer and set it to color dodge, take again the brush tool, and then the flow should be really low, like 3-4%, and if you paint on the center of the screen, you will brighten that area. So this is how I created this bright area in the center of the screen. Alright, so this is what we have until now, and if you look at the image, this is what we created. It doesn't really blend with everything because now we have to match the colors of the rocks with the colors of the sky somehow. Alright, so that means the front rocks and the other rocks cannot be that bright, so we need to make them darker. So in our case I used an exposure. You can find it here in the adjustment layers, is the exposure one, and then I decreased the exposure to around 8.5, and I have played a bit. After I did this, I took the brush tool, and with the black color selected, I opened a bit the front of the rocks, the center of the rocks where they are intersecting with the sky. So this area, I open it a bit more, and then I added those reflections from the sky by using a black a layer set to linear Dutch. So if you want to quickly learn how to do this, go to layer, new, and here select layer, and the mode should be linear Dutch. Then fill it with black. Alright, and now that we have this layer created, let's hide the other one, and with the brush tool selected, we are going to sample a color from the sky, let's say this one, and then I'm going here on the color swatches, and I'm going to change the color to something more saturated. And then with this color selected, I'm going to paint on our rocks, something like that here, a bit here, and then I'm going to change the color to this blue. I'm going to paint here also, and yeah, you can play around more if you want, but usually this is the process. And then when you finished, just double click on the layer, and we are going to disperse the colors because they do not look that well now. So we are going to use this blend if method, hold Alt and drag this slider more to the right, and if you look at the image, you'll see that the colors that we had in the beginning, those colors that were a bit foggy, now if we drag the slider more to the right, they look much better. So those are the highlights that I created, and then I did the same thing, the same method, but this time I painted with a much brighter color on the sides of the rocks. I'm going to quickly demonstrate you. I'm not going to do it all because it takes a lot of time, and I repeat the process, the same thing, linear Dutch, fill it with black, and now I'm going to shrink the size of the brush, and I'm taking, let's say, this color, and on the margins of the rocks I'm going to paint something like that on the edges of our rocks. So this is how I created those soft bright highlights. And then at the end, just double click and do the same thing, hold Alt and drag a bit the slider to the right, and it will disperse the colors much better. And then I added more highlights, because as you go with the design, you discover that you want more or you need more highlights. And then at the end, I added those orange highlights that now doesn't make sense, but by the end of the tutorial they will make sense, because we'll have some torches here with some fire, and those are the reflections from the flames of those torches. So now I'm going to keep them because we don't have any lights here, but as I said, by the end of the tutorial you'll see the torches that will create those lights in our rocks. So this is what I prepared so far. This is the starting of our tutorial, the rocks. Then I have added this little boy. So this is the original photo with this little boy. I have used the pen tool to select him as I showed you. So take the pen tool, press the letter P and start from the legs. I want to show you the hair part. So here on the hair part, it's an impossible selection because he has a lot of hair loose and it's really hard to select. So I'm going around. So that's the important part here, not the other selection, but because here it's really simple. You just zoom in and, you know, take your time. Alright, so we have the selection ready. Just press Ctrl and Enter and then press the mask. And now let's double click on the icon on the mask, and we are going to take the second brush here, the refine edge brush tool, and I'm going to paint on the white side. And yeah, this is how I select the hair part. Just press OK after that, and this is the selection that we have so far with the little boy. As you can see, because we selected that hair really well, it looks really natural, and I didn't need to paint any hair this time like I did in the other tutorials. And now we need to match his colors with the rest of the background. First of all, we need to darken everything, and I did this by adding a brightness and a contrast adjustment layer. So I decrease the brightness to maximum and I increase the contrast. Then I want to have our right and his left side a bit darker, and I added an exposure. This time I decreased the exposure, and I added a selective color adjustment layer, and I have modified the neutrals, and then I have added some dodge and burn. In my case I use the soft light method. Let me quickly show you. Go to layer, new layer, and here the mode should be set to soft light and fill it with 50% gray. And now take again the brush tool, but this time the colors should be black and white. Of course the flow you can keep it like that for 5%. And now if I'm painting with the brush tool and the black color selected, here on the bottom part you'll see it much better. It will darken those parts much more, and I want to have this side of the little boy darker because there isn't any light that comes to that area. So this is how I use this dodge and burn, and yeah, this is it. And then I wanted to have a bit more color to his right side, our left side, and in my case I used a curves adjustment layer, and I dragged the curve to the top, and usually it was let's reset it. Usually was something like that, and I drag it from the center more to the top side. Alright, so this is our curves adjustment layer, and then I played and then of course I did something that nobody will notice, but I did it anyway. I changed a bit the colors of his eyes. They were a bit darkened, and I have made them greener. Then I added those highlights that I explained you on the rocks part. I added some colors from the sky, and then I added that white highlight that I explained you on the rocks also. But if you want, we can do it again, but not the whole image of the boy, just a quick demo. So go again to layer, new layer, and here set the blending mode to linear dodge and fill it with black. Now take the white color, or you can select by holding Alt a color from the sky, which is this color, and then with the brush really low, something like that, the brush size should be low. You are starting to paint on the sides and go a bit inside. Now I'm using the mouse, but when I did a design I used the tablet, but now I'm going to show you how you can create those highlights using the mouse. And I don't know if you use the smudge tool in the highlights parts, but I love to use the smudge tool because it disperses much better the highlights. So yeah, this is what I'm doing with the mouse right now. I'm just painting on the sides with that color, and I'm going inside also a bit, not only on the sides. And don't worry if you do any mistakes, just change to black, and then with the black color selected just paint over, and you'll undo that mistake. So this is the way I created the highlights. And now if you change to the smudge tool and keep the same brush, and the strength should be around 20%, something like that. And now if you drag a bit that white or that bright color that you are using, I'm dragging to the side and inside of his arms, for example, something like that. Now I'm using the smudge tool. It will disperse that color much better. It's not just a simple line. because otherwise it's just a line and it looks bad. So now with the smudge tool I'm dragging that color more to the interior, and yeah, this is how I created the highlights, white highlights. Yeah, those are the white highlights, and then I added those orange highlights that now, as I said in the beginning, don't make sense because we don't have the fire. But when we're going to add the fire, those orange highlights will make sense because it's the reflection of the flames on the boy's body. I forgot to tell you about the shadows beneath his body, his legs, because now he's sitting on the rocks, but he should have a shadow underneath him. So you just create a new layer and set it to multiply, and take the brush tool and let's sample by holding Alt a color from the rocks, and then shrink the size of the brush and right click, and here on the top let's shrink the top part and make this like an oval. And then underneath his legs let's start to paint with that color here also, and we are going to keep on painting because here underneath his legs should be the darkest part, and also he should have a bit of shadow on the side also. So yeah, this is the shadow that I forgot to show you, and this is really important. And yeah, let's delete this one and keep the other one. All right, so we have the boy ready, and then I added some extra objects, and let's see. Let's start with the seagulls. We have this one and the other one. So this one from the right and this one from the left. So I didn't really did that much here. Let's see, on this one I added Gaussian blur. Let's hide a bit the Gaussian blur, so the seagull looked like that, really bad. And after I added the Gaussian blur, it blended better with the background. So if you don't know how to do this, go to filter and then select blur, and here select Gaussian blur and set the amount to 2 pixels and then hit OK, and you'll have this really nice Gaussian blur. And I have added some selective color. I decreased the cyan because normally it was blue, and I decreased the cyan, and I have this really lovely color, and it looks really nice. And I did the same thing with the other one, just with the blur, Gaussian blur, because here we already had the background to the blue side and I didn't need to change the colors. And then let's see, we have the torches. We have this one on the right side, and this has a really nice story. I have it from this guy, so I cut it using the pen tool, and then I have placed it here on our right side. So this is the torch that we had from that part, and I place it here, and I didn't really love the original fire, and I added a flame of my own on the top, and yeah, it looks much better now. And then I have added a selective color and I changed the neutrals. Alright, and then I have decreased the lights by using a brightness and contrast adjustment layer, and the same with the dodge and burn, the soft light. I decrease even more the colors and the lights on our torch. Yeah, so this is the right torch, and then we have the left one, and this was much easier because this is a PNG file and it already looks like that. And I have added a brightness and contrast to decrease the lights, the brightness, and a dodge and burn to make it even darker, and of course some small highlights on the right side with some orange yellow color. And those are the torches, and let's see, behind them I added some flowers, and I have added a small Gaussian blur, not too intense, I think around 1%, and then I have added a selective color and changed the neutrals, and then decrease the lights a lot by using a brightness and the contrast. And with that linear dodge highlights method, I have painted on the leaves of the flowers a bit with an orange color. So let's see, go again to layer, new layer, and here select linear dodge and fill it with black. And then don't forget to place it inside, just hold Alt and click between the layers, so you have this layer affecting only the flowers, not the whole image. And then with the brush tool selected, let's zoom in, and let's see this color, and the flow should be really low, like 4%. I'm going to paint on something like that, not too intense, on the leaves, that they reflect actually the colors from the flames, the heat from the flames, they reflect it on their leaves. And yeah, this is how I created those small reflections. Let's delete this one. And yeah, those are the flowers from the right, and let's go back to the left side. So here is the same image, but I used the other side, and I did the same things, the same adjustments, change the color by using the selective color, and then decrease the brightness using brightness and contrast, adding this dodge and burn to make everything darker, and the same, the highlights I just painted. And then I have added a backpack here next to the boy, which is this one. I have added a mask to mask it to look like the backpack is behind the rocks, not in front. Alright, so this is the backpack. Of course, I did the same things in changing the colors, adapting the backpack to the environment. So first decrease the brightness using brightness and contrast, then decrease even more the brightness on the left side using exposure, and dodge and burn with the soft light method, and selective color to change the colors of the backpack, and then adding the highlights using the linear dodge that I just explained you, and adding some white highlights on the sides. And I decrease at the end, decrease the lights more, and I have used this curves adjustment layer. And because we have the fire, I have added some orange highlights at the end. So those are the highlights that comes from the fire. And of course we need some shadows, and I created a normal layer, set it to multiply, and let's hide the other one. And of course take the brush tool, and this time we are going to use the normal soft brush, and we are going to use the same color that we use in the little boy shadow, and we are going to paint behind the backpack, and in front also, because it casts a shadow. And yeah, this is the shadow that we need to have here on the backpack. Alright, so let's uncheck this one and bring the original one. So we need those shadows also. Alright, so this is the backpack, and I have placed a hat also next to the boy. So this is the hat. This is the original photo. It looks really not from this movie. So I have added a shadow underneath using the multiply blending mode. It's just you should create a new layer, set it to multiply, take the brush tool, and with the alt selected, just select a dark color from the background, let's say this one, and then start to paint here where the hat matches the little boy leg, something like that. Don't worry if it's too bad, you should switch to the eraser tool and erase some parts that should not be there, and then switch again to the brush tool, and yeah, you should paint around where that shadow should be, here where it matches the rocks, and of course here inside it shouldn't be that much light, so here should be dark. And yeah, this is how I created this shadow underneath the hat. This is the shadow. Alright, and then of course the same steps. First decrease the lights with the brightness and contrast, then change the colors by using selective color and change the neutrals, dodge and burn to make everything even darker, and at the end curves to have this right side brighter. Alright, and of course the highlights. The highlights, they weren't that intense here because the hat it's a bit between the rocks, so a bit of that red from the sky and a bit of white, and at the end the orange color that comes from the fire. So this is the hat. Let's see, now we have the camera. Yeah, on the camera the same things. First decrease the colors using brightness and contrast, then dodge and burn to make everything darker, levels this time to have even more darkness, and highlights, just the orange ones because they were coming from the fire, and beneath the camera the same shadow using multiply. Alright, so we have our elements ready. Let's see the camera, the little boy, and I think we need some I call it magic, but it's not that magic that I have used you with. It's just a reflection from the fire. So this is the fire burning. I had more orange to that side. Let me quickly explain you. So first create a group. Let's call it glow, and inside this group create a new layer and fill it with black, and you can do this by using a lot of other methods. In my case I use the paint bucket tool and fill it with black, and then create a new layer, empty one, and at the end the third one should be gradient map, and here the color from the left side should be black and the color from the right should be white. And then we need to add 3 more colors, so we start with this one from the left and we change it to let's see, this orange or any other color that you want, and the other one should be less intense, so I'm going to select this side and make it less intense, and the third one should be closest to the white color but not white, should have a bit of that orange color. And yeah, and at the end this group should be set to screen, and if you look on the screen nothing happens because we didn't use the brush tool yet. So take the brush tool using the white color, and now let's see, use this empty layer. Now if I'm clicking once and increase the size of the brush, you see that something happens on the screen, which is really nice. So I'm going here, press once, then increase the size, press again, increase the size, press again, and if you want you can, you know, press many times, but in this case I think it's enough. Now we need to move on with the other part of our tutorial. So I wanted to have a reflection like in the water of a lion. So let's see how I did that. Let's hide the little boy and let's bring the lion group. So we need to hide because I didn't kept everything. I didn't keep the hat, the camera, and the backpack. Let's hide them. And here I have added this lion. So to select the lion using this white background, there are a lot of methods. You can use the magic wand tool. Just click once on the screen, and if you hold shift and click again, it will add those areas that you didn't select. And yeah, this is the selection, and then hold alt and click on the mask and you have the selection ready. And if you double click and take the second one, the second brush, the refine edge brush tool, and paint on the hair, it will lose that hair in the background and it will get rid of the white background that it's beneath the lion. You see those white parts of the hair because of the refine edge tool that I didn't really like. I had to paint the hair, the fur of the lion. So it looks really nice, and if you are wondering how I did this, it's a really simple trick. If you have something like that and you want to have the original fur in those white parts, create a new layer, take the clone stamp tool and take the soft brush, increase the size a bit of the brush, and now if you hold Alt, you'll see this target on the screen. That means it will take that area, and now if you release and paint on the side, it will paint with that area that you targeted. So now I'm targeting that area. Here I'm releasing the Alt and then I'm painting, and as you can see, it adds that texture of the fur to wherever I paint. So if I click here and paint on the fur, it will add that texture in the fur of the lion. Here also, now it looks bad, but if I press by holding Alt on this area, I'm releasing, and now if I'm painting here, you'll see that changes everything. So this is how I did the fur part to look really well, because I didn't really love that white selection that Refine Edge did. This is our lion now, it looks much better, and let's delete this one, keep the original one, and I added a selective color and change a bit the colors of the lion to match with our background much better, and then a brightness and contrast made him darker, and at the end the gem burn and the highlights that come from the sky. I think you already know how to do everything by now. Alright, so now let me explain you how I created the reflection. Now we have this top part with the lion, and we need the reflection in the bottom part. So I'm going to press Ctrl Alt Shift and I and create a screenshot of this side. And then I'm going to right click and convert it to a smart object. And I'm going to duplicate this layer because I will need it twice. So I'm going to hide the copy and go back to this one. So now we need a displacement map that I have explained how to create in one of my previous tutorials. I'm going to give you the link for it so you can do it yourself. So go again to, so now go to filter, and here go to distort and choose displace. I have used those settings, horizontal 10 and vertical scale 55. And then I choose my displacement map and it will do something like that. Then I'm going to press Ctrl and T and right click on the screen and choose flip vertically. And it will do something like that, which is really nice. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one, the normal layer, press Ctrl T and flip it vertically. Now I'm going to select both of them by holding Shift, and I'm selecting both of them, and I'm going to drag both them to the bottom part, something like that. Now let's hide this one again and move the displaced one on the top. With this one selected, I'm going to select, let's see, this rectangle and place, and now click on the mask. And we have this reflection already in the water. And now on the mask, take the brush tool and paint on the intersection of the rocks with the reflection, with the water, and it will blend much better the rocks with the water. And now I realized that I forgot to add the shadows to my lion, which I already had. So the shadows are here, but I forgot about them. And the same thing, the reflection behind the lion. Sorry about that. Let's go back to our reflection. We have this reflection, and as I said, normally when you look at a reflection in the water, the closest part to the object or in our case the animal is more visible, and this one is not. So I brought back this layer that we had, and I did the same thing with the mask. To speed up a bit this process with the mask, just copy this mask by holding Alt and drag it to our layer. So now we have two identical reflections, let's say, something like that, two identical images. And if you click on the displaced one, you have this on top. So now with this mask selected, with the black color selected also with the brush tool, I'm going to paint here where it's close to our subject. And here I will make this part more visible, and the far part should be displaced like having those wave forms. So yeah, that's why I have two images here of this reflection, because I wanted to have this part of our lion more clearly, and the other one should have that displacement map on that area. Alright, so let's erase those one and bring back our original reflections, which are these ones. So yeah, this is the reflection that I had made, and I have placed them into a group. And because usually in the water we don't have the same colors, so the colors are more desaturated, I added a hue and saturation, and I adjustment layer, and I decrease the saturation. And then I decrease also the brightness by using a brightness and contrast. Alright, so this is what we have so far, and of course the lion should not be there because we need the little boy back. So I'm bringing back the little boy and all the other objects, and I'm going to hide the lion. So this is what we have so far. We have the little boy and the reflection of him, which is a lion this time. Moving on, I have added some sparks from the fire, and also adding them to the water side, and some sparks in the air also. So those are the sparks that I have added to make everything more realistic. So then moving on, I have added a curves adjustment layer and increased a bit the brightness in the center of the image. As you can, I don't know if you see it, but it is here in the center. I have made this area a bit brighter. So this is what I did with this adjustment layer. Then I have played a bit with the camera raw filter, and it changed everything into this. So let me quickly demonstrate you how to use camera raw. So press again Ctrl+Shift and I, and it will make a selection or a screenshot from all the layers that you have. Then right click and convert it to a smart object. Then go to filter, and here select camera raw filter. So here on the camera raw filter, I have played with the temperature. I decreased the temperature to have more blues in our image, and then increase the contrast, decrease the highlights and the whites, and increase the shadows, and decrease a bit the blacks. I increase the texture clarity and the haze, and on the detail, I increased everything here to have this more painty look, like a oil paint look. So if you play with the noise reduction and color noise reduction, you'll have less sharpening image look. So let me quickly show you. So normally it looks like that. And now if we increase the noise reduction and the color noise reduction, it looks like a painting. And I didn't want to look exactly like a painting, so I added a bit of sharpening, and it looks really much better right now. So this is what I did so far, and then press OK. And then when I finish with the camera raw, I have noticed that the water should be more darker in the bottom part, so I had added this exposure, and yeah, I have added my Mr. 23 all over, and some glows on the fire using the overlay. Let me quickly show you how to do that. So create a new layer and set it to overlay, and then take the brush tool and select an orange color, and with this orange color, if you paint on top of that that torch, those flames of the torch, it will add a really nice orange glow. And of course I have added some on the ground, on the rocks, and yeah, this is what I did with this overlay. And then double click, and the same blend div, just hold Alt and drag the slider to the right and hit OK, and this is our glow. Alright, and because the water should have some blue colors in it, I have added some blue color. So here what I did, I have added this photo filter, which I set it to maximum, to this blue color, and then I have added this gradient map with also this blue, and I set it to color, and that's how I created this blue water on the bottom part. And here let me zoom in. I have painted some small waves with the normal brush tool to have this part of the rocks separated from the parts with the reflection, because normally it was like that and it didn't made that much sense. And now with this we have both sides separated. At the end I added this filter, this high pass filter. Let's zoom in, because otherwise you won't see that well the differences. So this is what we have without the filter, without the high pass filter. This is what we have with the filter. It makes everything sharper, and I love it that way. So let me quickly show you how I did this. So we have this look until now, and if you press Ctrl+Alt+Shift and I, go to the filter, then other, and here select high pass, and the radius in our case is 0.3, hit OK, and the mode should be linear light. This is without and this is with this high pass filter. I hope you love my idea from this tutorial. Please take a look at my other tutorials, because I have tutorials where I spend a lot of time in explaining everything that I showed you today. And if you didn't understand everything today, just take a look at my other tutorials and you'll understand a lot of things much better. So anyway, thank you so much for supporting me so far, and please don't forget to comment on this video and to let me know what do you want to learn in my next tutorials. So again, thank you so much and see you next time.